Like well, pretty much every other landscape in across Europe, what we've heard today also is that the Dutch landscape is pretty much determined by the high volatile pockets of liquidity that are available to borrowers. So you at first have to prepare very well as a borrower to convey your let's say your message, your credit status towards investors, whether they are banks or you as private placement investors or any other kind. You have to prepare very well, and then it still is the question which pocket of liquidity is at that time most available to you. So you different like a few years ago, where you could as a corporate really rely on your bank, your principal bank. You now really have to look at alternative sources. So that's a key topic, I think, for a lot of borrowers, for a lot of corporates to do an option analysis on several funding options, and not only look at the principal bank. So that's, in terms of landscape, it will be pretty much determined by, as I said, high volatile pockets of liquidity, and really being able to tap into different sources of liquidity. I think that's going to be key, and is at this moment key in the Dutch market. Popular funding sources will, to a large extent, people look at institutional investors, but as discussed also today, it's mainly a demand-driven alternative. So what you see is that it pretty much comes from the banks not really being able to fill the entire gap. So people automatically look at where is the liquidity then, and they automatically end up with the institutional investors. So a lot is being talked about institutional investors filling that gap. But as also mentioned by a few people today on this on the panels, is actually that you see institutional investors not really being ready for that kind of function, because also in terms of their credit analysis capabilities, their well, maybe even their appetite for let's say these shorter term asset classes, but also pretty much well, maybe even the most important one is that in terms of regulation, there is a lot to be done for institutional investors to be able to really step into corporate loans, for instance, and play an active role in corporate refinancing. So that's still something that needs to be worked out, and so much talked about, but the question is whether that's a real alternative in the short term, because in the long term this could very well be substantial liquidity that could find its way to corporate borrowers. I think everyone sort of realizes and is on the same page as to where the market currently stands. So there's a lot of nodding and agreeing with each other. So there's pretty much consensus about where the market now stands, and that you as a company should prepare well, and that banks will pretty much look at good credit. So it's let's say sub-investment grade. You probably will see banks slightly moving away from that and moving into stronger credit. So that makes it even harder for corporates with a sub-investment grade status to get their funding together. But it's nice to see the discussions surrounding this, and it's good to see that there's a well, yeah, I think even a sense of urgency that there are challenging times even ahead of us, and it's not yet over for corporate borrowers. It will remain rather challenging for them.